before I let you work on a practice problem on your own, I wanted to go over a couple of quick notes on unions. Keeping track of our outline, we've already completed mirroring your tables in Holy Catrimony, and now we are on unions part 2, or part Deux. So the first thing that's going to come up is a union all versus a union distinct. In our previous example, I think we only did the union alls, but when you're working in an actual data analyst job, you might see a union distinct pop up. So SQL gives us the option to stack all of our rows or only distinct unique rows. So if you remember, like your select all versus your select distinct, same type of thing, but with your union. Union distinct may cause performance issues. I tested this in BigQuery, and with the tables that we're working with, I didn't notice any measurable impact in terms of performance. But I did see on the internet that certain SQL like packages, if you're not using Google BigQuery or a different one, you might have some performance issues. For BigQuery, since we don't have any performance issues between the union all and the union distinct, we should go ahead and just default to do a union distinct. And I'll tell you why in a second. So here are two tiny tables again, and let's just say we wanted to stack them. We have April, May, June, July. And then we see in the second table, we also have July, August, and September. So if I just do a union all, what's going to happen is these tables will be stacked on top of each other, and we'll get two values for July. But July only occurred once, and the total amount of sales was 350. So what this would give us would be April, May, June, July, August, September. And then if I were to sum up the total number of sales for the year, I would get an extra $350 that didn't actually exist. When you're working with really big data, it's hard to know if there's a duplicate hiding around in row 1,010 billion. So if we did a union distinct, what would happen is that SQL would first do the union, and then it basically just applies a select distinct star. So it just removes any duplicates. So union distinct, it gets rid of that pesky July for us. We don't have to worry about it. Union all, we still have to apply some cleaning before we can do any analysis. A couple other things to note. We can do union all or union distinct. Always use union distinct over union all. This prevents removing the duplicates later, unless your particular SQL dialect has some performance issues. But in general, just go ahead and use union distinct versus union all. And then the last thing is that order by and limit can only happen at the end of the query. And that's because order by and limit, it affects after SQL has done all of the querying. The order by and the limit is just kind of the polish on top. So I can't do select star limit 10 of 2014 data and then try to union 2013 data. It just won't work. So that can get like a little confusing, but just remember, I think this is an easy way to remember, that when it comes to order by and limit, you can only use it one time per query, and it has to be at the end. That's it. The last thing is that BigQuery checks only the column type. So this can lead to issues if you're not careful. What do I mean? So here I have the cat food and the dog data, and I just mixed up the product and the month for cat food. And so we are going to assume that month and product are both string types. So if I were to just do a union, what I would get is the column for product would be April, May, June, dog food, dog food, dog food. And then month would be cat food, cat food, cat food, April, May, June. And BigQuery, that's because BigQuery, it's not checking to see, oh, do these column names match? It doesn't care. It just says, oh, they're both strings. I guess this is what you want. So then what would happen if you tried to sum up by product or month, you would start getting these like weird rows and stuff in there. And you'd be like, what's happening? And that's because you mixed up the order. So it's very important if you're doing a union is to make sure that all of your columns are exactly the same. A pro tip is if you're unioning very big tables, go ahead and just don't do select star. Never do select star. Just list them one by one by one. That way you won't get any of those mess ups. In today's lesson, we covered the difference between union all and union distinct. We also reviewed a toy example looking at the impact of incorrectly ordering columns. In our final lesson for this module, I'll give you an example problem that you can practice on your own. See you there.